This is what we need. Our people need to be organized, organized, organized. Mukan!
Black, Cherokee, Chickasaw, Irish, Louisiana Creole, Mississippi Mud, but in America I'm just a typical black person, or mixed, as they like to say.
I am Tony Parent, Black American. My real name is Anthony Eugene Parent. It's supposed to be Perron, because I think we're French somewhere on the other side.
I am Rahali Yellow, Black, Ethiopian.
And it's less to do with the fact that you left your community and more to do with the fact that you've now been tainted by a sub, like...
I don't think it's tainted.
I mean, okay, maybe tainted's not the right word.
Like even when I go back home to Nigeria, like I was born in Nigeria, I speak the language, like they'll see me and they just assume that I'm African American.
There's a disconnect between being African and being African American in some sort of way.
In Nigeria, they'll be like, "Oh, you've become an akata," like you've like, you know, like they've influenced you. Like akata is like basically an African American. Like they've influenced you. You've become, you know, it's in a joking way, but if you actually grew up there, then it's kind of just like you are that.
I wouldn't say they trust me less, but they treat me different than they would, or differently than they would if I just straight up acted like everyone else acted there. And I feel like that awkwardness, like when I go back it feels really awkward. That awkwardness like shows like when I see Nigerians dealing with other Africans from other countries, or Yorubas dealing with Igbos, or like Nigerians or Africans dealing with African Americans or people from the Caribbean. It's the same kind of awkwardness.
Our images of one another, it's never direct communication. It's always distorted through the lens of like the ruling class, who in this country have portrayed African Americans as the lowest of the low, in terms of culture, in terms of economic class, in terms of political disempowerment. And so then what happens is that you have this kind of disconnect where no black person who's coming from outside of the US wants to be associated with black people who are in the US, because to do that would mean that you're at the lowest of the low.
It's in West Africa, in Senegal. There's an island called Gorée Island, which was a major slave export, during the slave trade. And I went as a child, and you open this door. The guide was like, "This is the door of no return." So I opened the door, and it's just like ocean and rocks. I almost fell in the ocean. And it was basically where they would ship the slaves out of. And then he made some corny joke like, "But it's not the door of return because you're here."
I am William Alexander Runnels, Black American, America's finest, bitch.
Bayete Ross Smith, Black. My mother always taught me that I was black and to be proud of that, and that I came from a rich history and historical background. So, as a young kid, there's just different things, like I was always aware of different aspects of African history.
I am Wayne Modell Jr., Black American.
I'm Tamara Frere, Black Transatlantic American. There are very few differences between Afro-Caribbeans and Afro-Americans, except the accent, I would say. But Africans have a lot less, they are a lot less aware of the different ethnic influences. They address themselves on a national level.
The number one criticism I get from African American women is that I'm not really black, or I'm not black enough. And I just feel like I don't know what that means. Like it's kind of like foreign concept to me, but I feel like there's always a questioning of how black you are, and I don't get why that kind of accusation or like statement is always being made towards maybe just Ethiopians or maybe just me. I don't know if it's just something about me, but it's always like, how authentically black are you? And basically telling me that I'm black as if I don't understand I'm black. When the irony is I don't think they understand who they are.
I am Tashaka Lynn Moore, black, POW, prisoner of war in America. I want to say that I feel like black Americans have like a lot of pride in themselves, you know what I'm saying? Like we kind of ride off of, whether it's civil rights, whether it's the Black Panther movement, I feel like we kind of ride off of that. So where, you know, Caribbean people and Africans, I don't really see them display that as much as the pride of it. Not to say they don't know it, but I don't feel like I see them as much. Like for Marcus Garvey, whatever. I feel like black Americans ride more Marcus Garvey than a Caribbean person would.
African Americans, again, I'm saying this in the traditional sense, will tell me that I'm African American. Like they're quick to tell me that as if like I'm denying something or I'm like misunderstanding something. My parents were born in Africa and I'm an American born citizen. But again, to me, being African American is a very loaded term. It means that your history is tied to the United States of America and you happen to be of African descent centuries ago, not in any recent memory. And that's not a negative connotation to me. It's just a very specific history. And for me to even identify or to claim that is to almost take on something that I don't even think I could take credit for. Like, my family was not here during a segregation time. They weren't here marching for freedoms or fighting for that type of equality in that way or experiencing those things. So I feel like it's almost claiming something that's not true to their identity. And again, I'm not saying in a negative connotation, but I feel like a lot of African Americans who, obviously were born in America, think that Africans or Caribbeans don't claim being black the same way, but it's just not the same history.
I am Christopher Matthew Lopez, black American.
I am Dave Michael, black Antiguan.
I would say I don't really know too many African people, so I mean, I guess like their speech, one thing I know is about certain Africans is their speeches, they speak really low from the gut, and I mean that like if you hear someone talking like that, they might be African if their skin is dark.
I really do like African guys though. I haven't the ladies them I don't mingle because of my work. I do mostly construction, so you know what I mean, I don't know the family values of the African people. I've lived around a few of them, but I don't know. But the men, African men though, I seem not to have any problem. It seems like we actually grow up together, most of them that I live with. Now, the African American men now, it's a different thing with me. Yeah, the attitude is bad, you know. They jump to conclusion, you know. I've known a guy that he's accusing me of things that he said he heard me said. He never asked me if I said it, but he's telling like I said, and I never did. Oh, he don't want to talk to me, so I said, okay, fine. And this happened to a couple of these guys, you know, when they assume something, they take it as it is true.
I was having an argument with an African in my kitchen when I was working at TGI Fridays in Broadway and Times Square, and he was, calling me a faggot because he didn't really understand that you can't just call people names like that, and that's a derogatory name. He didn't really understand. He was just saying some shit that he heard somebody else say and thought it was fine to just say that. Well, when I called his mother a faggot, he wanted to pull out a knife and come towards me and be like, they killed my whole fucking village. Well, I mean, you can't come to America and expect us to accept you and your struggles and the hard time you're having. Maybe he really did come from a village where they killed his entire family. I wouldn't know that just walking into a conversation with him, especially if you throwing the word faggot around or bitch or touching a girl on their ass or whatever. Cultural differences is very, very big.
My sister's boyfriend, he's in construction. There's a lot of West Indians that work with him. And he said they say a ton of things that, they think black people do and think, and he's always on kind of like defending, like, wait, what? Where did you get that from? So I'm just like wondering where all these things come from. And now I know there's also this stuff coming from black Americans too.
Like I have dated, the different groups, but I guess if I have to rank for ranking purposes, it'd probably be black American, black American, Caribbean, and African probably.
I'm Kyle Taylor, black, African American, Indian, Puerto Rican, East Indian. As far as my personal preference, I would say The Caribbean, I say Caribbean, African American, and African. That's because I'm attracted more to Caribbean women and American women. I'm not too fond of African women. Some of them are attractive, but some of their habits, like tying the babies behind their back, I don't want my kids' legs like that, you know. It's cool, you know, it's natural, you know, I like it, but that's just something that's just not me, you know.
I am Joseph Matthews, black human being, and I think that there's some complex issues that my mate needs to understand. You know, when I come home, I need you to be able to understand what it feels like to be an African American male in this country, searching for yourself, being treated like an alien at the same time, you know, and you don't know where you fit in.
I'm Fred Parent, Black Dynamite.
I'm Janelle Poe, Black American. For me, it's more, I'm a woman. How are you going to treat me as a woman? What does your cultural background teach you about treating women? And so, unfortunately, and possibly it's a very grandiose stereotype, I have grown up with the understanding that African men do not treat women with respect. In their culture, it's okay to have more than one wife. It's okay to hit your wife. It's okay to force sex on her. I will never be with a man who treats me like that, and I don't think any woman should. And I kind of don't know what happened, because black women, African women, used to be the center of everything. They were lauded and praised and seen as elders and seen as queens. They were queens, you know, instead of kings.
I won't lie, when I was in Africa, I thought about like trying to hook up with one of the women over there, and I was a little too scared.
Why were you scared?
You know why? Because I was like, I'm gonna get AIDS. Those women over there are pretty beautiful, but then in the back of my mind I was like, man, I bet you like half of them have AIDS. But then I was like, oh, that's like racist, like you're falling into the trap of the stereotypes. But then I was like, but they don't quite approach the AIDS epidemic the same way over here as they do back home.
I don't like being groped. So the couple of reggae parties I've been to, dudes are very hands-on, and they're trying to, you know, wind and be all up on you. And honestly, I don't know you. I don't want you in my space like that. And I certainly don't think that you have the right to assume that I want to just because I'm a woman and you're a man and you're hot. Like, come on.
Race never really mattered. First things first, you're Jamaican, that's it. Second, boy, everybody that you knew about was of the same sexual orientation. So that never really come into play either. Our nation still has the most churches per square kilometer. So everybody was just about Christian. So that never really came into to play either. So really and truly, it's just ethnicity, aka culture, aka more or less Jamaican.
That question you said, what are you? I never heard that question until I came
here.
Okay. And it was such a strange thing. The first time someone was like, what are you? I was confused. I'm like, what do you mean?
I mean, for us in Dominica, it's even more difficult because after we say what we are, then we have to go for a map.
You're isolated from the rest of the world, but you're with everyone who's there. There's no way to avoid, you know, bumping into other races, ethnicities, other peoples. Here, if you don't want to, you don't have to. We're big enough. If you want to go and live out on a farm in the middle of nowhere and not see another person for the rest of your life, you could. We haven't been forced to become a melting pot.
I am Mercedes de Jesus, Black Dominican.
I am Macario James de la Cruz, Black Filipino.
I am Divino de Negro, Black Dominican.
it's not just about race. You know, I always put that crap in quotes. It's about the I guess the colors of people, the shades of people. People who are lighter on the spectrum like us, we usually seem, from what I've gathered, are a little more accepting of people of anything else. You know, like we're just like, oh, okay, you're this, you're darker than me, that's cool. You're a white person, cool, that's fine. White people in general, they hang out with me, it's like, oh, okay, they don't know what the hell I am, I could be a million things. People who are darker and I'm the light-skinned one, or someone else is a little darker, it just always comes to, oh, it's because you're light-skinned.
We perfected how to look, oh, he's not black, he might be you know, something, he's an exotic black or something.
He's trustworthy now, he's good. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like, do I have light skin? Like, in your perception, do you think I'm light skinned? Because like it's a question.
No, I'm saying because that you're lighter.
Do you think I'm light skinned? Because this is the joke. Like, white people don't think I'm light skinned. The police don't think I'm fucking light skinned. So
I am Jonathan L. Davidson, Jewish, African American. Why do I think I'm blacker than most white people? Because I've spent more time with black people. I remember going to the movies and it was raining, and you guys were like, all right, John, go get the taxi. And I went out to get the taxi in the street, and I was standing, and this cab pulled over and stopped, and then you and Hank and Sunga ran out to get in the cab with me, and the cab just drove off. Didn't care that I was white at all.
I come from a place where we're all one. I want to know more about you. I accept you. You're my sister, my brother. And I know that sounds like really corny, but it's real.
Even for us that are like, I don't want to use the term like more African, it's not more African, but like that have more of a direct linkage, it's even an issue. So I feel like even trying to make Pan-Africanism extend to like African Americans in America would even be an even greater like challenge.
Give me, if you're put in charge, how would you make a Pan-African society? How would you bring us all together?
I don't know if I'd even want to do that, honestly, man. I think making a Pan-African society would be the same as making an Aryan society or some other fucking society, where it's just like at some point we have to all just respect the fact that we're not all from the same place. We're not the same. It's the one thing, man. Jewish people help each other out. White people, white Christians help each other out. You know what I mean? Like Bengalis help each other out. Mexicans help each other out. Puerto Ricans help each other out. Africans help each other out even. And something about black Americans or blacks in America where we just try and fucking bring each other down more often than not. We don't support each other. We never stand together.
I am Abayomi Cousins, black man. As Peter Tosh said, if you're a black man, then you're African.
African People's Revolutionary Party is that political organization is the determining factor for our movement, right? Brother Sekani talked about political organization being ideology, organization, and faithfulness, commitment, dedication.
We're a revolutionary party. There's no quick fix. There's no here today and gone tomorrow. It's hard, arduous work, but it's the only thing that's going to get it done.
Anyway, I just want to say that in 1980, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, we marched down to Washington, D.C., and we held a symposium and a rally, and the theme was Pan-Africanism or perish. That was 1980. That's 30-something years ago. Do we see our people perishing, or do we not see them perishing? So, you know, when I was down there and I understood that theme, I kept saying to myself, what do you mean by we gonna perish? Now I know. So we know that we are in danger. We know we have no other choice. We have a choice of Pan-Africanism or perish. Thank you.